evening or afternoon, wherever you are out there, our fabulous empaths and highly sensitive beings. We're glad to have you here. And this is day 2 of our empath discussion. So while you are out there and trying to get on here, I'm just going to talk a little bit about yesterday and do a recap for those of you that were not on. And don't know me. Matter of fact, today we have like 10 new people, and I don't know any of you. So let me do a brief introduction on that. And then we have a guest tonight who you probably see sitting over there, right? So I'm Gloria Coppola. And I have been involved in the healing arts for like 40 years, and I have been an empath. I believe I was born an empath, a highly sensitive empath, and have been helping people my entire life. And through all my different experiences in life, you know, from tragedies to bumps in the road and everything else, and lots of deaths in my family, I have learned to be even more sensitive and compassionate. And I have gained different perspective in life on many, many things as a result of studying with sages and kahuna around the world and being initiated in different places at sacred places. So I feel very blessed actually to be an empath. And that's the message I want to put out there for you guys. Oh, hi, come on and say hello. We got some people popping in here tonight. So come on and say hello. I feel blessed, and I know that I have been in other empath groups, and I mentioned this last night, that I took myself out of because it goes down a funnel of what I feel can be very negative sometimes, and I want to keep this series, this discussion, hello, and everything we do in here uplifting, okay, because we are working, you know, diligently with a lot of energies out there, and we need to support ourselves, and tonight we're going to be talking about this energy and how to protect ourselves so we don't get drained. And so my blessing as an empath, I'm going to share that on with you these next 4 days. And our guest has got some great insights as well. So let's just jump on here and get this party going. And so yesterday we covered basically what an empath is. And I have some posts down there for those of you that are new. Welcome. And you can scroll on down. I'm over here kind of looking at my phone too, because not all the things are coming up on this side just yet. So we've got, we got Claire and Janine and Nancy and Deborah and Danielle and Shannon. I feel like I'm on the romper room. Hi, everybody. Mirror, mirror, magic mirror. You were goofy. You didn't know who you were hanging out with, Robert. So anyway, if you're new and you haven't had a chance to or scroll down, yesterday's day 1 live is there. It will stay up there, and there's lots of valuable information and shares and insights, and feel free to give yours. Okay, this is a community of discussion, of education, and we have all had our experiences, so it's not just about me, because I'm not a narcissist. But it's about a community that gets to share their experiences, their wisdom, and their insights so that we all grow together. And then I also put a chart down there today, because some of you were asking about indigo children and crystal children, and you weren't really sure. So I just put a brief one out there. You could actually go on Google, thank goodness for Google, right? And search and get articles that give you a lot more insight. And many indigos, which were called the way showers, we were the ones that started breaking the systems down. Started to come in the 50s, but the big influx happened in the 70s. So a lot of us actually had children that were born in the 70s. So pretty cool, huh? And if you think about everything that was happening in the 60s and 70s and that whole revolution, right? That was your first wave of indigos coming in and talking about peace, love, and light, and stop the war and change the educational system. And, you know, let's make this a better world. So come on and say hello and tell us what insights that you have received from just watching yesterday and some of the research maybe that you're doing and reading while you're in here. So we'd love to know. And I wanted to talk today about some of the things that you guys have been putting on there about really being exhausted and drained and tired, okay? And yesterday I also mentioned a book, if you guys didn't see that, The Empath Survival Guide by Judith Orloff. It's got pretty much everything I've been saying and going to say. So if you haven't picked it up or seen it, it's, you know, it's laid out pretty much everything that I have decided I was going to do with you guys anyway. So before I start giving you a little breakdown of some things, and you're wondering, who is this man sitting next to her all the way from Chicago, right? I want to introduce, he's actually a Facebook friend, and he's an author, and he is not in the healing arts. And some of you gals, oops, he's probably having some technical difficulties. We'll get it back. Some of you gals were asking about men. Are men empaths? Are men sensitives? Well, of course they are. But the thing is, men are also taught and trained to hold back on their feelings, right? Where women will talk about it more. So I don't know what happened to Robert here, but we'll get him back in a second. So good evening, everybody. And if you just joined us, say hello. Let us know what's going on for you. And again, I'm Gloria Coppola, and I'm from North Star Fusion Coaching. So if you're wondering what that little symbol over there is, that's my logo. And I help people navigate their lives through a channel of wisdom that I have developed over the course of my lifetime. So coming out of the healing arts and going into a different level of those healing arts, and now teaching this sort of work, when I used to teach only massage, but I'm on a spiritual journey most of my life, and I hold retreats that are transformational, not just little tours, but they're experiences for you to tap in, to your sensitive side, to the gifts that are waiting for you. And that's what empaths are here for. They're here to learn about their gifts. So if you didn't define yet what type of empath you are, then make sure you go do that, okay? Because it's important to know if you're an emotional empath, a physical empath, or if you're an intuitive empath, or all of the above, okay? And because some of the things that we talk about are actually going to be directed towards some of those things. So, for example, how many of you, give me a show of hands. Oh, there he goes.
Okay.
He's back.
Sorry, yeah.
That's okay.
It froze up on me.
That's okay. I told you we were having the spirits earlier today. If any of you caught the Facebook Live, it's over in the Healing Arts page that I did with Deborah Finley, who is a medium. She's also a Reiki master and massage educator. We did an hour Facebook Live today. So if you're not in the Healing Arts community, go over there and check it out, because we had a blast today. We covered a lot of ground. She actually did a reading for a couple of people, and I know some of you will probably even be on tonight, and maybe you can share that. And so she decided, along her way, older in life, even though she had this gift of connecting with spirit, she decided at some point to hone in on that gift and to study and learn more about that. So you want to go check out her video. And if you're not over there, let me know and we can get you over there. But anyway, I want to introduce our guest tonight, because you ladies were saying, well, where's the men? Well, I went out into Facebook and I put this big notice out there going, No, I didn't do that. I actually met Robert not too long ago on Facebook. He happens to be an author, but he's a real estate agent now. What is he doing here, right? He's not in the healing arts, but he has been gifted and sensitive his whole life. So all the way from Chicago, he told me to say that, I'd like to introduce Robert Crown. And Robert, why don't you tell our group a little bit about yourself before we get started with today?
Well, thank you very much for having me, Gloria. Do you want me to go in about my past briefly, or?
Well, how about you tell us, when did you realize you were a sensitive being?
I realized at a young age, when I could kind of pick up on what people were like in school and stuff, when I could have a sense of what people were thinking instead of even though they would be saying one thing, I felt that they were thinking another. And I was corrected before in saying, well, you have to go by what the people say. It's not that you can't read their mind, And I'm like, I didn't really know anybody, so I just kind of said, yeah, okay, well. But I realized later on in life that I can actually feel, and I understand what's happening now, of course, is that I'm picking up on people's vibration, on the frequency that they're in. And now when just looking at people, I have a very good idea of like what they're thinking, or, if they're going through trouble. The experience that we just shared earlier before we got on here was, I meet with a friend of mine, and she is like super intuitive, and she has you should have her on your show.
Yeah.
But, yeah, she's very, very bright, very smart. I mean, she does biolocating and all of that. But we would just be sitting down having lunch, and I'd tell her, you see that lady over there? There's something bothering her. And so I said, I'm going to go ask her. And I went up to the lady and I started talking to her and I just said, hi, I noticed me and my friend were talking and I noticed there seems to be something that's bothering you. You know, is there something you want to share with me? I know that's kind of weird, right? I'll walk up to a perfect stranger. But what it does, it helps me confirm what I already know. But what the lady said is, no, I don't have anything, you know, I'm fine. But 15 minutes later, the same lady walked back up to our table and said, you know, by the way, I was thinking about it for a while, and yes, there is something that's bothering me I'd like to share with you. So then from there, I started to understand more deeply that, you know, following my feelings and the energy that I'm experiencing. And also when I had that experience with watching that movie with Michael Beckwith 10 years ago, I could feel his vibration as well. And I could feel it resonated with me, and it gives me goosebumps when I think about it. So, you know, I never really gave it much thought when I was younger, like if it was a gift or anything like that. But the more and the more as time goes by, I realized that, you know, I just thought everybody had it. You know, I just assumed
Me
everybody felt like
too.
that. Yeah.
Me too. How many of you
So,
guys thought everybody just had this gift?
yeah.
Or how many of you, so let us know down below. Or how many of you had feelings like Robert did, where you can sense something going on with somebody, but maybe you doubted it, or maybe a friend said, oh no, you're crazy, or whatever. And so you weren't so sure if you should say anything at all. So drop a line below if you're resonating with any of this. I know, Robert, I thought everybody was this way. I did.
Yeah.
And when my second husband died and this whole gateway opened even more, I was in counseling. It was actually a woman that had been working with both of us, you know, and she said to me, you know, the stories that you tell, you make it sound like it's just a story, like, you know, like, and everybody goes through this. And I'm like, well, don't they?
Yeah. Right.
And
Right.
she said, no, Gloria, you live in this whole other reality.
That's
And she,
amazing. Yeah.
yeah, and she said, and don't shut it down. So I actually worked with her. She was an amazing counselor. Had it been any other one, they probably would have had me on medications to quiet the voices and the feelings
Yeah.
and everything else. But
Hmm.
she actually, thank goodness, supported it and helped me. But just like you, I went through life thinking, well, doesn't everybody have this?
Right. Right.
Yeah. So the gals were asking yesterday, you may have seen the post or not, like, are men sensitives and empaths, and where are they? And I know you didn't think you were until we started talking, and you're probably thinking, well, maybe this is what, you know,
Yeah.
it's
Right.
called. Okay. So why do you think, you know, the men aren't saying too much out there?
Well, it's funny because you were talking, you were saying like, well, a lot of people don't even think know that they're an empath, and you know, it's like after we were talking, I started thinking about it a little bit more. But I think because maybe their mind is in a different place. I'm kind of unusual in a sense that even though I'm married, I have a lot of female friends, and I make female friends quite easily. So I don't usually hang out with a lot of guys. I usually hang out with women. And I don't know, I think there's just something about maybe the way that they're programmed, that when we were younger as men, that we're not taught to be emotional or be in touch with our feelings, you know, you know, forget about all that BS, you know, let's, you know, just go to work and, you know, hang out with the guys afterwards. And I think that they're just kind of desensitized to it. Not everybody, but I noticed that more and more men today are really in tune with what's going on as well.
Okay, so we have a little comment here. I think it is
Yeah.
harder now because I am clearer. I'm pretty certain I'm hearing and feeling someone else's feelings and thoughts. When I first started, I questioned it as real. So she's responding to what we were talking about before when we thought, you know, like, doesn't everybody feel this way?
Yeah, and I would, for your own sake, I would go up to the person and ask them if you have start a conversation with them and just find out. I mean, you could ask them directly or get to know them and see if you can find out to confirm what you believe. And how, when you do that, you gain more experience and then you start trusting yourself and getting more confidence as well.
Yeah, the only thing
So,
I would caution with that is what we're actually going to talk tonight about is boundaries. You know, going into somebody's boundaries where that can be intimidating. Like when you first went to that lady and she didn't want to divulge anything because she doesn't know you.
right.
And Deborah today, the medium, was talking about she used to do things like that and run
Hmm.
up to people and stuff. And then she realized through all her trainings to really be cautious with that because you're going into somebody else's energetic field. And, you know, we have to respect that too. So that's one of the things in being an empath that we'll talk about tonight
Hmm.
too, is when do you go do things like that? When do you offer up your information? How much of it? And also to not only protect yourself, but protect other people. So I'm really glad you brought that up, because I do know that when we're learning this stuff and we're getting excited, we do that. That's what Deborah was laughing about. She goes, oh, when I would, go up to somebody here and there, and I would say these things. It's great to experiment. What I used to do is experiment with a lot of my colleagues, and we would be, guessing, kind of like you were saying, reading each other's minds and stuff. And that was really very validating. It was really very validating.
Right. With me, I think it's more out of love, because I really want to be able to connect with that person, because I can feel that I know that they're suffering. And I want to give them an opportunity, because I know that they haven't discussed it with anybody, or they haven't had a way out. So when I go up to somebody, I feel very confident that, it's what I need, but more so it's what the person needs. It's not really for my validation, because I don't really care about it. That was like an example that I used that one time. But for me, it's really because I want to be able to offer something to that person, or give them some sort of relief.
Right. And that is an empath, okay? Because of that level of wanting to help and compassion and heal. And we're also going to talk about that tonight, because a lot of us, we go through different experiences as empaths, and some of that could also affect us in a negative way. Okay. So since I know that you didn't think you were, now I'm hearing you and I'm like, yes, you are, guys. Don't you think Robert's an empath? Okay. Yes, you are. And, we have that desire. We have that passion to help. We have purpose, deep purpose. And I know you have deep purpose. We won't talk about all that tonight, but I know sometimes we will. We're driven. We're so driven from that passion that we want to help and heal. And for those of you out there that resonate with this, please, by all means, drop a line. But we also have to learn how to protect ourselves, because the more that we do that, the heavier we get involved in other things that are greater purpose. We're also going to be dealing with a lot of different energies. And sometimes, guess what? It's a bit overwhelming. And this is where people get anxious and sick and symptoms and so forth. So we really have to know ourselves. So this is great that you're bringing this up. And I'm glad, because these are some of the things that I know I've heard other people talk to me about. And then later on, they have other different effects. So it's great that we all can have this passion to want to help other people. And I totally encourage that. But we also got to be mindful of energy and boundaries. And that's what we were going to talk about tonight, energy. So you tune into energy. I tune into energy. And I think everybody that's here, or they wouldn't be here, tunes into energy. Let's talk a little bit about that, Robert. When you say shh, when you say that you can sense something, where do you feel it in your body?
I feel it in my gut. Sometimes it'll resonate in my heart, but I can feel it. I can just kind of sense it, like the energy coming off of that person, almost like.
What happened? Oh, this is weird.
I can see you.
I don't know where this music is coming from. I have no clue.
I don't hear it.
That was weird.
Wow.
That was really weird.
They don't want me to talk.
There was nothing on. So I'm going to take it as a sign that there is something greater here tonight with all of us. That was pretty cool, don't you think?
Yeah.
So I'm not sorry about that, because we were being taught something here, because it was not on my computer. It was not on my phone, and I had no way of shutting it down. And that's energy.
Happens to me.
We don't have a way of shutting it down.
Yeah.
So you were saying you feel it in gut, you feel it in your heart. Where else?
That's pretty much it. And then when I feel it, then I want to be able to act on it. I can for the.
Okay, I gotta figure this out.
Is that you, right?
I'm trusting in something I don't understand.
That's wild.
I'm letting go.
What were the lyrics?
I'm trusting in something I don't understand.
Wow.
And I have no idea.
Wow.
I can't. This is crazy. Okay. Hold on.
This actually happens to me a lot.
White swan.
Okay, so hold on, guys.
From beyond, the beyond.
Listen to these words, though. Listen. The light from beyond.
Maybe you should just turn it up so we can hear it. Let's just play it.
How do you thank the wind? How do I thank you, sure?
It's wild.
It's a white cloud, white swan, white light from beyond the beyond, white cloud.
Getting goosebumps.
White light from beyond.
White light from beyond the beyond.
Okay, ladies and gents. This is how my world works too.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah, wow. Yes, the blue box above your head looks like something you opened. Okay.
Wow.
All right. Well, let's come on back here. Where were you? And then I know someone has a comment here about the victim mentality. Let's go. Yeah, musical spirits. Isn't it great? I love when that happens.
So
Okay.
interesting. Yeah, it really is interesting to me.
They're teaching us. How about that, huh? Okay, so do you remember what you were talking about?
About like what I feel and what I sense.
Yeah, we were talking about the heart and the gut, and I was asking the group here where they heard it, felt it, and then spirit came in and told us what we had to pay attention to.
That's so interesting because I have a lot of stuff that happens to me like that when something is important to know or to learn or meet somebody. It's like there's always some kind of, sometimes it's interference, sometimes it's a sign to be more determined to go forward. It's so beautiful because it's so encouraging.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that was a clear and loud message where we need to be in that light and connect with all of that. So Beth actually wrote here, you mentioned the victim mentality yesterday, and I love helping people, but I avoid those who I can tell have the victim mindset. I can sense when they truly don't want the help or not ready for it. So in order to protect myself, I avoid it. And Beth, that's good. Just trust that intuition, if you feel that, because we can't help people that don't want to be helped, that are not ready to help. And a lot of times an empath, because we feel so deeply, and like Robert was sharing too, if he just came on, we want to help people. We want to see them heal, but you know what? That is not always their journey.
That's right.
Yeah. So where are you guys feeling your energy? Like, Robert was saying, sometimes it's his gut, it's his heart. It's good to identify where you feel it in your body so that when it comes up, I'm looking at comments here because they're not coming up here. So if you see me looking down, Deborah says, been a theme for today, white light from beyond. Yeah, it has been a theme today. There's been a lot going on. How many of you guys are tuning into the energy of the lunar eclipse too, and all the planets? Robert, do you feel that kind of stuff happening, in the cosmos?
I feel, yeah, yeah, there's always stuff going on. You can feel it when there's an eclipse or other times too, when there's not. If there's something big going on in the world, you have a sense, and they've proven that over and over. That I don't recall. Maybe somebody knows what kind of instrument they use, but when there's something big like 9/11 that happens, they can measure that kind of frequency, and which is great because then we really know to be able to tune into one another.
Yeah. How many of you here tune into things that happen in the world? I do. How many of you guys do? Tell us yes or give us thumbs up or something. Robert, I could have dreams about it at times, the night before, a big event or something. I can feel it like a chaotic disturbance going on. I don't know if you've ever had that. I remember when Japan had the nuclear explosion.
Yes.
Well, the night before, I woke up and I felt like I was burning, but not from fire. And I touched my skin, but I was not hot. And it was a horrible feeling, like I was engulfed in this heat. And I had said to my husband, like, am I having a hot flash or something? Is there something on fire that,
Yeah.
and he's like, your body's actually cool. He says, I don't know what's going on. And so I fell back to sleep, and there was just more and more things, going on that night. And then there was these horrible feelings, and it was really intense. And when I woke up the next morning, he was telling me, he had put the news on. He came up and he called me and he said, you need to see what happened with the explosion in Japan. So do you get things like that?
Yeah, I mean, you could have been, I mean, it was dreaming, but you could have been in a parallel dimension or something. You could have been there, right? So,
yeah, that's a whole nother topic.
yeah, but people can feel it. People can. I don't think for 9/11 I really felt any, or for the Fukushima, I don't think I felt anything at that point. But that's really an amazing experience that you had to be able to have that type of feeling and to be able to actually feel that on your skin in that way.
Lori says she has an aha moment. Lori, tell us what the aha moment is, okay? And people are feeling edgy. Someone put here too, they got a little, with the stuff going on politically and all. This is what I want to put out there because I don't know if I was talking to you, Robert. Yeah, it was you, about the belief systems that people have.
Right.
We have to be really careful, even when we're listening to TV and stuff, about the programming and the brainwashing that takes place, okay? Because if you're brought up a certain way, that's your programming, and you're only going to see it that way. And I'm not going to get political here because this is not the arena to do that. But I do want you as empaths to really tap into what feels like a deeper truth, and not just the words you hear or the things you see. The same thing with violent movies, don't you think? It's like you see that in violent games, I cringe when these kids are playing all these video games that are violent. I just cringe because your brain does not know the difference if that's real or not. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're right about the feeling, because what I was saying earlier about Michael Beckwith. So when I was watching The Secret for the very first time when I was homeless with my wife and 4 small children, I was trying to figure out why. At the end of the movie, the last sentence that he says is, "This is what I know for sure." And I could hear his words, but when he said that, it just resonated throughout my own body. I knew the man was telling the truth. It wasn't even a question whether it was for me to agree with 100% certainty. It was a fact. I knew it. I could feel it inside me. It resonated within me. So it's really not the words, it's really the vibration. So you really have to forget about your...
Well, see, like, look what, Nancy put this up here. So it was the vibration, but she was watching, feeling edgy energetically before Trump was with Putin. But 5 minutes before, she gets a message, bad news about her brother, that she started crying. And so that feeling really wasn't rational, but it was empathetic. And that's what we have to be mindful of too when we're watching things, because all of those other feelings, we're very connected to the people we love, in our lives. And so we have to be mindful of that. What is going on with sound? I missed the first 20 minutes. We had Spirit pop in for a while, so we apologize for that. We are now doing better here because we're listening that the energy is from the other side and blessing us with light today. Right. So just kind of go with the flow there, okay? All right. So, Robert, what else do you want to say about that?
I'd like to say that if in that case where she was concerned about Trump and then her brother called, well, then you could be on one frequency, and then all of a sudden something troubling happens, and then you're on a different frequency. So then you're not vibrating at the same level. So what you're thinking about or what you're looking at could come across in a totally different way. So once you're able to raise your vibration and raise your frequency, you look at everything differently. So, that's right. So, I mean, you can get really technical and talk about different levels of truth and vibrations and frequencies within the dimension, but it's really a matter of how you're vibrating at the time of something, and a lot has to do with, it also can do with your belief systems as well. But if you want to get out of that lower vibration, just go to a happy place, a moment in time or a place that makes you happy, and then,
absolutely,
music, whatever.
You know, a lot of us have been through a lot of things, and people will say to us, well, how did you get over that? How did you go through that tragedy? You know, and how do you smile and how do you enjoy life? Well, we shift that frequency, don't we? Because
Yeah, absolutely.
somewhere inside, no matter how bad things look on the outside,
Right.
we have a knowing, you know, and
Right.
I don't even know where that knowing comes from when I go back and look at childhood.
Yeah.
So, Robert, I'm going to ask you, if you don't mind. I know a little bit about what happened to you when you were a child, and here
Mhm.
you are today, you know, trying to educate and teach people, you know, about this. So, would you like to share a little bit about what happened when you were a child and what you became aware of and what called you?
Sure. Well, my mother, when I was younger, she always taught me to help other people. And I was a very sick kid. I had asthma, had to stay in the summers a lot. But when I was a young boy, when I was 11 years old, my mother devised a premeditated murder plot to murder me and my two siblings. And she was almost successful. So that was one aspect of trauma. I come from a dysfunctional family. My parents would always fight. My dad would be a drinker. My sisters say that my dad sexually abused my older sister. I was a runaway, lived on the streets. I was sexually abused. I got involved in drugs. I had my best friend and my girlfriend when I was 19 years old get killed in a car wreck. I was homeless, as I mentioned earlier, suffered from a lot of financial problems most of my life. But other than that, man, things are great, you know. But I
Well,
realized
yeah.
that, you know,
But I want to
that
just stop there for a second. I just want to stop there for a second and let
yeah,
them absorb this, okay?
yeah,
Because we did talk last night. I know you had to leave early, so I don't know what you
yeah.
caught, but we did talk about empaths having a lot of these different experiences. You kind of had
Hmm.
them all,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know?
I had a lot, and there was more. I think what I learned a lot. I learned to question. I learned to be more sensitive. I learned, and I didn't all learn all this at once, but I learned later on in life. I did study spirituality for a long time and other things. And what I really learned, what it really came down to, is trusting myself, because we don't have to believe what somebody tells us or something that we read. The truth is within us. I mean, this isn't our higher self's first rodeo, first time around. You know, it's been here before. It knows what's going on with us. So we have to be able to trust. We know it's in us. These are some of our powers and abilities that we have as multidimensional beings. So we have to be able to tap into this power, into this divinity within ourselves, remove the veils of delusion and the veils of ignorance, and be able to trust and reconnect with our higher self once again.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
And that's what that song was talking about too,
Absolutely.
connecting
And it's
with the
so
light.
beautiful how it just came in. It's just like everybody here has something so great and so special. It's like a really special moment when something like that happens. So,
Absolutely.
you know, I think there's big plans for all of you. I mean, I can't read who's here. I don't have that information, but, you know, congratulations to all of you.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you. I do feel that too. And the group that has been drawn here is really a very powerful group, a very special
Mhm.
group, just like Robert is saying. And I was thinking about that too, you know. So I do believe, and I've had this conversation with several people today, we are being called upon to amp it up and multiply it mega.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
all this stuff that happens on the human level, oh, I'm getting chills.
Hmm.
Oh my God.
Hmm.
The stuff that happens on the human level, it's time really to get over our BS. Okay. In
Yeah.
that sense, not to say that, you know, it's not real and happening, but we can get stuck in the drama. There are actually
Hmm.
drama empaths. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And we get stuck in that. And then we forget that there is that
Yeah.
higher level. We need to rise up. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. I mean, I was making some comments and I was looking at some of the comments from yesterday and what some of these people went through. Uh, what is her name? Kathy or Katarine or
Catherine. Yeah.
yeah,
And
and a
Claire.
couple of these other people that that had a very difficult time. But we're not victims here, and we don't have to be a victim. And I think it was her that said that she understands now that what she went through made her stronger. And everything that we go through is for us to get us to this point in life. It's to help us awaken. So any crisis that we go through in our life is an opportunity for us to awaken to who we really are. That's the purpose of humanity. That's the purpose of life. So once you're able to do that, and then you realize that, then like yourself, Gloria, and other people, they want to help and share with other people. This is the mission that we give ourselves. This is our mission that we knew we wanted before we came into this world.
Absolutely.
So all of you that are awakened in this way and realize this, kudos to you. You're all spiritual warriors.
That's exactly what an empath is, a spiritual warrior. And Lori says, time to rise up. You're absolutely
Let's go.
right. Let's go. So in this rising up, we also, warriors need their tools, don't they? They need their shields, and they need the different types of things that are going to protect them. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight, okay? So again, thank you all for showing up. We got more people popping in. Yes, I feel it at time. I know there is a large event going on that happened, sad and very intense, that something is not right. And so just like, Robert was saying, we are not victims, all right? So be very careful that you don't allow your frequency, like he was talking before, to go down into that victim mode, all right, and down into that depressed place, because we're accustomed and we are trained to do that. If something bad happens, then we react a certain way, right? Yeah. And it's not to say that you don't have your feelings. You have to honor your emotions and feelings. But how long are you going to stay stuck in something? But more importantly, how long are you going to stay stuck in somebody else's crap, right? And that's what we're really here about tonight. So she says, my sister is stuck in the drama and seems to thrive from it. The victim profile feels to the victim like it gives them attention. To awaken is brave. Now, I want to say something about that. How many empaths are determined to help the victim? Be honest. How many are you determined to help the victims out there? Because there's also, in all honesty, an energy of yours that resonates with victim. And we have to be honest and look at that. So like when you were saying earlier, what frequency, where are we at? If you're resonating on that same level as victim, then guess what? You're going to be in that drama too. And how many people have had this in their lives? And I know, you guys have been talking about some of the things happening in your family and stuff, and you're stuck in that. And I believe, Claire, you were talking about, like, you actually took a stand today with your sister, and you have to. It's a compassionate stand. Let's see, we got somebody else. I'm trying to see what the comments are here, because they're not all coming up over there. So I have to use both phones. Okay. So I think we got it all. So we need to protect ourselves. We need to be mindful. And like, Robert was also talking about how he navigates the energy and the feelings of people. You need to do that too, not just rush in to rescue, okay? You need to be mindful of it, okay? And you need to protect yourself. And so I want to give some tips today on different ways to protect yourself. We actually talked about some of it yesterday, like at the end of the night, taking a sea salt bath and having certain things in your sacred space that clear you. Eating right is a big part of it. I was watching a video today about all the processed foods and what it is doing to make people sick and their energy dense and all of that. Eat live foods. Live foods have energy, right? So I think you have to discern feeling something when it is not as victim is very powerful. Things are not happening on a linear level. I think it's a blessing. Yeah, you do have to discern. And that's what we're trying to, bring here to you tonight, is that discerning factor, okay? I used to be determined to help the victims, but I've made the switch, okay? And so, when people know what you do and know what your gifts are, they know that they can come to you. And I've had to step away from even family members. I don't know if you've had that happen in your life, Robert, but I've had to step away from family members, very close ones, and just say, it's not my journey, it's theirs. And that's hard. That's really hard when you're a compassionate person and you want to help, And so if you missed some of the tips we gave last night, it is on the first video, because I want to go through all that. I'm going to give some new stuff too. But I have had some experiences, and I don't know if you've had, well, you did with your mom and stuff, wanting to, plot your murder. Wow. I had something similar, not that drastic, with a boss years ago. And he had that kind of energy, that I'm going to get you all energy, and very manipulative. He wanted everything his way. He was new on site. I was working in Hawaii, and he knew that I had an influence over the girls in that area, and they were afraid of him. And so he figured if he can manipulate me, then he can get all the girls to do what he wanted. And it wasn't really cool at all, And he was getting very aggressive in his tone and in his energy. And I thought, I need to protect myself. There's something going on with this guy, and it's not normal, And so I was doing things like people would tell you, surround yourself in light, a pink light, a white light, be the light, be a bubble, all of that. And that's fine. But there's sometimes you need some heavy artillery. It's like we're not just shooting little Nerf balls anymore.
Right. That's right.
Can you relate to that, Robert?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
So a friend that happened to call, who also was involved in a lot of this stuff and multidimensional energy work and all, and she said, you need to get the big guns out. And I was like, the big guns? What's the big guns? Because I knew about the lights and I knew about all these other shields to do and candles and saging and all that. But here I am at work, right? And you don't have your artillery sometimes with candles and sage and crystals. I mean, maybe some crystals. So she said, you need to protect yourself with mirrors. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll protect myself with mirrors. So she says, surround yourself with mirrors and direct them outside. And she had to go. So she hung up. She forgot a very important key component. So I'm going to share this because this is how powerful your thoughts energetically are and everything you do. So here I am sitting at the desk and this guy keeps calling and he's being very aggressive and he's being very nasty and he's threatening me. He's literally threatening me. And so I put the mirrors up. 5 minutes later, we get a call from the off-site office telling us that he passed out and is being rushed to the hospital. 3 weeks later, he comes back to work, and I was sitting at a different desk, and he saw me, and he didn't want to look at me. He passed by, and his hand was in his pocket. And he came out later on, and he said, what did you do to me? Mm-hmm. And I didn't do anything to you. He says, yes, you did. What did you do? So see, he knew on some level, mm-hmm. Okay? Right. And the woman, my friend, when I told her what happened, she said, oh, well, when you surround yourself with the mirrors, honey, you have to make sure that energy is not directed back at that person because it could kill them, depending on what their thoughts are. But it was a great lesson because it showed mm-hmm. me just how, I don't want to use the word evil, but just how negative this man was and what he was doing, right. That it actually knocked him down and hospitalized him for 3 weeks. Wow. So if you have to pull the heavy artillery out when there's something very, very negative coming at you, very strong, and you do use the mirrors, remember that you direct that light from the mirror out to the universe to be transmuted, transposed the way it needs to be, to create balance. And that way there is no harm to another person. But the good side of this has taught me how powerful people's thoughts and energy are. And that's why we get sick. Okay. And I know a lot of, therapists along the way that I've worked with and massage therapists and just, average people like yourself. Okay. Real estate people that get sick. They manifest different symptoms in their body. Has that ever happened to you, Robert?
Not to me, but to people I know. I could share an experience if you like.
Sure.
Somebody I knew that got sick and they were held from a situation they were in with their spouse, and they held all this energy in, right? They tried to take it and blame the spouse on the way that they were feeling. And instead of talking about it, they held the energy in and they developed cancer. So, and I just heard from just another quick example, my chiropractor that I go to, he taught a lot of people, including Bob Proctor, actually his wife did, his wife's father. And she got sick back in April. And what had happened with her is that when she got sick, they found out that she had cancer. And they would always teach people all the time about, thinking positive and having positive thoughts all the time. And I mean, that was their life. That's how they lived their life. They taught it to other people as well. Yeah. And what she didn't realize is that something from her childhood, way back when, the way that her parents had treated her, she had locked inside of her. And it finally manifested itself in cancer, just like the other person. And unfortunately, she ended up passing away a couple of months after that. So we have to be able to release those energies that we store in our body and make sure that we thoroughly, examine ourselves and look at ourselves inward to make sure that we don't have any of that. We're not hanging on to any of that. And if we are, we need to release it.
And we also need not to fear it. You know, I was
Yeah,
studying
absolutely.
with someone a long time ago, and he said to me, he spent 25 years in South America studying with
Hmm.
indigenous healers, you know,
Yeah,
stuck in the Amazon there.
right.
And he said to me, he gifted me with a viewing of something that he was privy to take this video because he spent so many years with these shamans that were healing. And he said, I'm not allowed to show it just to anybody. But after spending some time with you, I want to show this because it's important. And because you're working with people in the
Hmm.
healing arts industry that want to be love and light, okay, all the
Right,
positivity.
right.
He said, that's not where the healing takes place.
Hmm.
The healing takes place in the dark, and you need to know how to work with that, and you need to know how to navigate around that so that you're not getting ill and that you could actually help and heal somebody. So he showed me this video, and I have to tell you, I was blown away. There was a ceremony, and because I'm so sensitive energetically, I felt like it was in my living room when the video was on. There was a ceremony with these the South American shaman and the people, all the healers and stuff, and you know they had their rattles and all, and their drums, and that is also another way to clear energy.
Hmm.
You know, it's also a way to rise energy. Okay, if you've ever
Right.
done drumming circles, you know you could literally raise the spirits. Okay,
Hmm.
and they did. They wanted to raise the spirit. They wanted to raise the dark forces. And it was one of the most intense. I don't know if anybody's ever had this experience, but if you have, please share it below. It was such an intense feeling, but I wasn't scared. And that was the
Hmm.
thing. It's like don't be afraid. And it was
Right.
interesting because just a week before I was at a conference listening to you know, a lot of our spiritual leaders that talk about all this stuff, and they were talking about do not be afraid. You know, do not be afraid. It's even in the Bible, right? And
Right.
so here they're doing this ceremony, they're raising the dark side, they're doing all these blessings and prayers and everything else, and then the shaman has people coming from all over, and he could do seriously, like I couldn't believe this, like 100 healings in a day, fast fast fast
Wow.
fast. And I saw this, I witnessed
Hmm.
pulling, you know, he's got this hand and he's pulling out tumors from eyes and dropping it in a bowl, next person, and he's moving on, and it was phenomenal. So you know, yeah. And he is such a clear vessel that he's not afraid of the dark. He doesn't resonate with that frequency like you were saying. So
Hmm.
he rose his frequency up so that it does not attach to him. And fortunately, I have had these, you know, these lessons and these teachers in life. I've also not paid attention to it all the time because every once in a while I let my guard down. Okay. Um, and at times, you know, if you feel like something's attaching to you and something's getting you tired or sick, you know, are you overworking? Are you working too many hours? Are you not taking time for yourself? Because yesterday we talked about self-care. Really, really important that when you're doing this work and being very sensitive out there and empathic and doing healing work on top of it all, you have to put you number one. And so if you're not in the right frequency and you're going to work and you're already dragging your butt, not good. And I made a policy in my practice when I had it that if I wasn't 110%, that extra frequency up, and I was feeling 90 and 80%, I rescheduled my clients. And a lot of my students would say, oh my God, I can't do that. They're not going to come back. That is not true.
Hmm.
Because if you are operating from that level of integrity and that level of that light, okay, they will respect it. And there were times that my own clients would say to me, I think you need a vacation. I think you need a day off. And I gave them permission to do that. I gave them permission to do that. And so that's what this shaman, you know, was teaching too. You have to take care of yourself. So he may be treating 100 people in that one day, but then he's got his time for his healing and all, and raising his vibration. Let's see, what do we got here? Deborah says those stored emotions can be very toxic. Yes, bless the history and let it go. Absolutely. Lori says that happened to my mom. She held everything in. And that's another part of this. If you emotionally hold everything in and you're not comfortable using your voice, and it's not to fight, it's not to argue, because communication is a whole nother part of this because that's a frequency, then if you're holding that in, that toxic energy, you're going to find that, you know, you're going to be getting sick too. I remember years ago as a kid, I always had sore throats constantly for years and years and years into my young adulthood because I wasn't expressing. I was holding all this back because partly because people told me, well, you're weird and you're crazy. Okay. You have anything you want to add to that?
No, I just think that's a great experience that you had with being able to watch that video with that shaman. Something like that can really open your eyes on how, what type of beings we really are, and
Absolutely.
what a great opportunity to.
Absolutely. I have been blessed to work with a lot of people like that
Hmm.
across the world. And a
Yeah,
lot of that happens because I trust my intuition and my feelings. And the people that are close to me know that I might take off in a moment's notice or, and go somewhere that's not even on my goal list, bucket list, or anything, because I am being called someplace for a reason and I don't question it. I
right.
find out,
That's
I
great.
show up and I find out,
Yeah. Hmm.
Um, and so we want to listen to this. Like you were saying, you listen, you can feel things. We want to listen to this, but we also want to protect ourselves. So when someone
Absolutely.
asked me, was that a real mirror? No, it's not a real mirror because I was at work, right? It's imaginary mirrors that you circle around yourself with the reflection on the outside. And so when you're asking for protection, and I put a protection prayer in there, but any prayer that you want to say, okay, is good. I just ask, God, source, creator, whoever you pray to take this energy that is being directed at me from, a negative energy, and please take it back out into the universe, transmute it, transpose it, and use it for good in the way it needs to be. Amen. Okay, it's nothing big. Okay. When did you find you released the pain that you received from your mother? That's a
Mm.
question for you.
Well, it took me a long time. I didn't really, because I really didn't know what was happening. I mean, we didn't go to therapy. We never talked about it. So I didn't really realize it. I mean, obviously, it came out in my childhood through different ways, but it really was till later in life that I was able to release that and let that go. When I began to understand that I'm a multidimensional being, all these experiences here are for the greater good of my soul, of my consciousness, to get me to where I am right now. So my mother and I, we get along great right now. I know
Isn't
that's
that
hard for people
amazing?
to
How
believe. Yeah.
how old were you when this happened? Because you shared a little bit with me a few weeks ago, but
Yeah.
then, how old were you when that happened?
I was 11 years old, a very naive 11. Yes.
Okay. And you told me that the children were put in a certain room, right? You want to share the story?
Yeah. Yeah, sure. We got up for school like any other day, and my mom said we weren't going to school. We are going to go see a show instead. And this was in April of 1973. And she said she was going to go out and get gas for the car. So she got gas for the car, backed in the garage, closed the overhead door, and came upstairs and asked us if we wanted any ice cream. And we all said yes, of course. And when I went up to go get my ice cream, we were down in the family room. You go up 4 steps, and there was the kitchen. You go up 4 steps, there was the garage. So we were down in the family room. I went up to get my ice cream, and I said, "Mommy, what's these little quite crushed up white things in my ice cream with an S on them?" And the S was for Sominex. It was sleeping pills. And she said, "Oh, that S just means you're special." So me, being a good kid, I just went downstairs and ate my ice cream. So then she came down a little while after that with a blanket, hammer, and nails. And I said, "Well, what's that for, Mommy?" And she started nailing the blanket up along the doorway. And she said, "This is a surprise for your daddy when he gets home from work today." So the surprise was to find the 3 children dead on the basement floor. So then she started the car, went up the garage door, started the car, went out the back access door around the kitchen. So then the fumes started to billow in from the garage, and I could taste the filthy carbon monoxide in my nose, in my mouth, and it coated the inside of my nose. And I called up for my mom. I said, "I think the car's warm now." And there was no response. And then I had this virgin thought in my head, and it was like, this is what death feels like. I'm going to die. And I just closed my eyes and was going to sleep. And then a voice said to me, clear as you're talking to me tonight, get up and go for the door. Go for the door. And I just stood up and made my way out the back. Long story short, opened the door. My mom grabbed me and started shaking me, and thought she was going to finish me off, but it was woke her up, snapped her out of it, and the rest is history, as they say.
Wow.
So yeah.
That's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Well, I'm going to ask the group here to send some really loving healing light, not only to Robert, to his mother, to his siblings, to his family, because even though, you know, we get over these things, there's still residual stuff that's around, you know. So let's just send him some hearts, okay? Let's flood this thing with some hearts and send those over there.
Oh, thank you.
So this is a perfect time
Yeah,
actually to
yeah.
talk about another shielding and clearing and rebalancing that was taught to me by another kahuna. Yes, this is in his book, and we'll tell you all about the book in a little while, okay? And someone says, that's fabulous. You have that love in you. Must have been very traumatic for her also in her
Yeah,
heart. Yeah, I
yeah.
bet. I bet. So when we go through things, whether it's simple things, you know, or bigger things like that, or a lot of you that are massage therapists, you know, working with people, you know, a lot of people say, well, how do I clear myself? And some of us are taught, you know, oh, take showers, wash your hands from your elbows down, you know, do sage. But there's actually more to it than just that. So I know yesterday Jacqueline talked about surrounding herself in a rainbow bubble, but I'm going to talk to you about a rainbow waterfall. And this is a little exercise that you all can do for yourself. And it doesn't really matter if, you know, it's something long ago or something present, but it works. It really works. And there was a piece in this process that when this kahuna shared it with us in our group in Hawaii, the fourth color, I was like, oh my God, that's the piece that most people don't pay attention to or think about. So what we do is we get in touch with our breath, a deep, deep healing breath right down in our belly, you know, pull it up into our chest. And when we exhale, okay, we actually exhale through our mouth with the sound of H-A, ha, which is the breath of spirit of God, okay? And we breathe in, we got some hearts coming up in here. We breathe in the, you know, the inspiration, okay? And we let out what we no longer need. We expire, right? We let out the expiration. So while we're doing this, we're going to do 7 breaths towards each color. And we're going to do the color blue first, okay? So we're going to imagine that you're standing under a waterfall and that this blue water is, you know, just flowing down over your entire body and through your body. And blue is for cleansing. Okay. And so we're going to wash away, you know, everything that you took in today, perhaps, or in your lifetime. And while you're doing this, you're going to breathe 7 times. So it's a very mindful type of meditation and visualization. Okay. So blue, 7 breaths, right? Got that? I'm going to actually type this up here so that we're going to do blue waterfall, right, with 7 breaths, okay? And so while you're doing that, the next color, yeah, thank you. Who knew? Green's next. That's right. Who's on here? Do we have Candy on here? Somebody that knows this is on here. Oh, Claire, you did get it. So the next color is actually going to be green. The green waterfall with 7 more breaths, okay? And green is for grounding you, okay? Because when you're doing your healing work, when you're, you know, doing vibrational work and stuff, you know, you kind of get a little bit out there, right? So the green 7 breaths under this beautiful waterfall, wherever you want it to be, to ground you. Okay. Now, a lot of people, a lot of massage therapists say, oh, yes, I ground. Okay. But guess what? There's more. Okay. So we do 7 breaths to that. Now, the next color is like a violet or an indigo blue. Violet, indigo blue, and 7 more breaths. And this one is to actually open up your wisdom so that when you're doing more of this work in life, more wisdom comes through and you become a clearer channel, because we don't want to be giving our energy away. This is what a lot of people do. We really want to connect with that light that song told us to do earlier, right? To connect with the source of light, okay, and bring that in. And so we want to go into the violet or indigo blue and 7 breaths and open up to asking for more wisdom in each and every day of your life. You know, whether you're just going in the restaurant and talking to people like Robert, or you're doing hands-on work, or you just need this for yourself. And then the last one, it's like a sand white color. And that one is actually to bring your frequency back where you need it to be, so that you're not feeling spacey and floating out there. Because people say, oh, I ground, but I still, I still feel kind of like I'm out there. So when you're doing some really powerful energy exchange, you also need to make sure that, that frequency may have went way up here. You need to come back down because this is where you live, right? You have to be where you live here. And maybe you rose your frequency a little bit, but you have to bring that back down too. And that was like a huge ha-ha moment for me when the Kahuna was teaching this years ago. So we got the 4 colors. We got blue, green, indigo or violet, and then the sand white color to bring your frequency down. And every single one of them is done with 7 breaths. So that is also something that was handed down to me by ancient wisdom that I'm handing down to you guys. It's not something you post on Facebook. Okay, these yeah, seriously, these things that have been given to me have been given in trust and integrity. And so everything I'm sharing in this group is for you to use for yourself and to pass on to somebody, but not to blast it all over Facebook. Because somebody did something like that with something one of these Kahuna taught me one time, and then they put it on YouTube, and boy, did I get a phone call. And, it's my responsibility. And they don't, that's how they see it. Gloria, it's your responsibility. I don't care if it's your student or not, it's your responsibility. And they won't share wisdom if we don't respect, their wisdom. And so I am entrusting each and every one of you with a lot of this other ancient wisdom that I'm sharing with you. Okay. So thank you for that. And then I'm going to share one that is really powerful as well. Also shared by a Kahuna during a time where I was also being attacked on a certain level, okay, vibrationally. And I actually shared it. If you were on the call today with Deborah, I shared briefly about it. And so if people are talking about you, and especially when you're dealing with something out of the ordinary, right? And they're talking about you and they're judging you, or there's fighting going on, arguing going on, and there's a lot of, hopefully not hatred, but sometimes there is, there's frustration and all. And you feel it's coming at you like daggers, like somebody is stabbing you in the back. You ever feel that? Like someone is stabbing you in the back? Oh, you are very welcome. Very, very welcome. So when you feel that knife coming towards you, and a lot of times it's coming so fast and furious that we're not even aware of how fast it is. Okay, similar to kind of what was happening for you guys. Your mom was in that state of being, and all this was happening so fast. So you're not even aware. Like it's just we're going to have ice cream. Okay.
That's right.
So when that is happening, and you feel that, what you do, instead of allowing that dagger, that knife, that sword, that sharp edge come through you, you're going to change it. Again, a frequency change. You're going to think about the best smelling flower that you like, something that brings you joy. Okay. Yeah, it can feel like it's pain made of pins. Yeah, exactly. So when you feel that coming towards you, whatever that is, you're going to transmute it. You're going to imagine that it changes shape and form, which it can, because everything is molecules and there's lots of space in between those molecules, and you can be imaginary and do anything you want. Okay. Right. And so, if I like the smell of pakaki flowers or roses or whatever, I'm going to change that. And as soon as that knife decides to hit me, it's already shifting molecules, and it actually goes through my body and out the other side like a beautiful flower. Okay, whatever that is. And so it is not going to be painful. Well, I had to do this experiment. Okay, I had actually used this on myself on something. And a lot of times empaths, when they're dealing with this, they're so emotional, they could break down, they could be crying, they could be taking everything in, they can't function on all these different levels at once because they're getting bombarded. And I used this in a situation on a phone call where this attack was taking place. And I was so just in my place of joy. And nothing that they could say to me triggered me. It didn't take me off my ground. I felt so empowered, and it was pretty amazing. So I'm sharing these things with you that you're not going to find in a book. All right. I know in Judith Orloff's book, she's got a lot of things that we are talking about and some simple things. But what I just shared with you is not in a book. And the Kahuna don't write these things down, which is why I'm asking you, do not write this publicly anywhere, because I will never be able to learn from them again and share more wisdom. So can I get a thumbs up or a yes or something that you will honor this, please? Okay. I will honor it. Okay. This wisdom. I will honor this wisdom. Okay. And so I'm taking that chance with this group. So we're not sharing this outside of here. Okay, thank you. Okay, so we're coming at the top of the hour, and I want to know, does anybody have any other questions out there about shielding, protection, energy frequencies, or anything for Robert? And Robert, while they're thinking about that and they're putting their little honor thumbs up heart or something, so I know that I've got you committed to this, I want to, oh, thank you, love, 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 I shall honor this gift. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I hope all of you will go give that a thumbs up and honor this gift too. So, Robert, you have a book. What's the name of it?
The book is called Suffering Ends When Awakening Begins.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. It's so true for me.
It's true for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everybody. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you wrote this about your life experience, right?
Yeah, my life experience is based on my life experience, all the hardship, adversity, and suffering I went through. I'm not really a writer, it's not my passion to write, but I just really wrote the story to give people hope, faith, and courage to overcome the challenges they face in their own life. And that's the only reason, that was my intention for the book all along. And based on some of the reviews and the responses that I get from people or the notes, it's having an impact on people's lives. And it just brings me joy, so much joy to know that, the stuff that we go through in our life, we can use it, right? It's just like what we were talking about earlier, to help other people overcome the challenges that they face. So really, this is the definition of the spiritual warrior.
Yes, yes. So you're getting some kudos out there and some nice things, and love the title. Speaks volumes, no pun intended. Okay, thank you for sharing. They appreciate you. I appreciate you coming on here. I really do. And I know Robert has got a mission beyond this that you guys will probably hear more about and see on his Facebook page. Okay. And I also have a similar mission, Robert. You don't know that. And we all have a story inside of us, all of us. And I am working with 2 publishers that have a company called Dream Sculpt, and they are offering a free, I think we're on week 3, a free writing course, because they want those soul stories. They want those soul stories, and and most people aren't writers. I happen to be a writer, but most people aren't, and so they don't think, oh, I have anything to say. But just like Robert, you do.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. And even if you don't,
And absolutely. If it helps one person, right? If it helps one person.
Absolutely. You can change the lives of one person. It's worth it. So, yeah, you may not think your story is important. You might not feel like, well, it's just me, but don't, because I'm not going to resonate with everybody. Gloria is not going to resonate with everybody. So those people can resonate with you. But you resonate with me. I just want to tell you and thank you for all your hard work and all your secrets that you share with us. I mean, you've shared some of your experiences with me before when we talked early on, and it's really incredible. And you are really just a wealth of information for people, especially sharing what you did with us today. I really appreciate that because I learned from you. So thank you for all that you do for people as well.
Thank you. And you're going to need some of those little hints with the work that you're going to be doing very soon out there, because when I started writing my last book, You Were Born to Love, Living a Life of Purpose, last year, the one coach, Jared Rosen, who's worked with other spiritual writers out in California, he has helped them get deeper, like Eckhart Tolle and other Jack Canfield and other people. So he's worked with a lot of people that we know out there, and a lot of new authors too. And when we were going through this book that I was doing, he says, no, this is not the book. There's another book, and this is it. And I feel it, and we're connecting, and it took me deeper. He took me really deeper into another place, and we did some meditation. So another thing too for all of you is meditate more. You can bring in more energy for yourself. You can clear it, but you could always tap into another source. And that was what was happening. And I got to see, another piece of my story. And then he said, okay, what's going to be your purpose behind all this? And Robert, I broke down in tears, because exactly what you're doing was, when I get chills, is what came up for me as well to help.
Wow.
And I knew that there had to be more of us that can do this. And they're probably sitting there saying, what is it? What is it? And so my purpose, and I now know Robert's too, is the whole human trafficking thing going on, the sex trafficking, and how really devastating it is, deeper and wider than we really know. And I started doing some research on it, and energetically as an empath being led to different places. And then, you started sharing some things and feelings that I've known and I didn't want to face, because sometimes
Right,
we don't want
yeah.
to face these things by people that we can't see that. We don't want to see it. Okay. So that's going to be backing, my purpose and my drive to finish my next book, coming up. But Robert also has got that mission, and he's getting very verbal. He's being very courageous. He's being very, very warrior, very spiritual warrior out there. And so I would like us all to send him, some protection too, because what he's about to step into, he may get shut down on Facebook. Okay. And you may have different opinions. And I love the way you worded that thing the other day about no judgments. Okay.
Right.
And I don't remember the whole thing, but it's not about being right or wrong. I remember you
Right.
saying that. And that's really the truth. It's not about being right or wrong. It's for us to find our truth. And once we do, then what is our purpose behind it? And what energy are we going to put forth on it? And I think it's really great that we had you tonight to talk a little bit about this and to bring this up at the end and talk about all this protection and shield. Because like Robert was saying earlier, you're a special group. You really are,
Yes, absolutely.
And I do a lot of things out there. I teach classes, this, that, everything else. And I said to my roommate today, isn't it amazing how fast 60 people came together in a matter of a few days, like-minded, focused, uplifting, no negativity, okay? And no going down the funnel, right? But we are here to support each other and grow.
Yes.
And I think that's phenomenal, don't
Right.
you?
I think it's beautiful. I think it's so beautiful, and that's really how we should be all together, because we are all related souls, and we all have the same purpose. And once we get beyond all our pre-programming, and reconnect with who we really are, and discover what our purpose really is, I mean, it turns into such a beautiful thing. And the relationships that you build with people, I mean, they're precious. So we can do so much. One person can do a lot. Many people together can really change. It's just a matter of learning to think properly, reconnecting with who you are, tapping into your power abilities, and harness your thoughts like the reins on a horse, and direct that baby where you want it to go.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So empaths, you have great purpose. All right. And
Thank
you
you.
need, and all of us, yes, we need to heal. We all need to heal. We need to be strong because we are being called upon. And I had a conversation today with two people about the level of energy that is shifting, and this lunar eclipse coming up, and all these planets that are aligning. And some people are going down the tube, oh my God, it's going to affect me so much. No, everything has a positive too, positive and negative, right? And so I'm riding this amazing wave of feeling like I'm breaking through dimensions, a lot faster. And that's why all you guys came. So don't go down the funnel. All right. Stay away from that. Avoid that, and put yourself around positive people. Use the tools that we're sharing with you this week, and heal yourself first. Okay. That is so important. I cannot express that enough. If Robert didn't do his healing work, he wouldn't be here. And for him to be in a place of compassion and love for his mother and forgiveness, that's pretty impressive, because most people can't do that. And I remember, and some of you know the story, that priest I talked to when I was 12 years old said that was our mission, no matter what somebody does to us or to anybody else, and no matter how horrible it looks, our role, our job is to be compassionate and have unconditional love. And I think, Robert, you're a great example of that. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Somebody up, she's riding the wave too. So let's all ride this wave tonight. And thank you so much for joining us. And all the new people out there, thank you for being a part of this. And we will be back tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Eastern again with another segment of this empath discussion. And I know some people have been talking about narcissists and stuff, so I'll give you little tips on that. I tried to get Robert to come and talk about it. And this was not really where he wanted to go. But I know a lot of you have been in narcissistic relationships. I had one in my life. It actually really surprised me. I didn't really know that was what was happening, because empaths are very compassionate and caring, and also very forgiving. Sometimes we don't see what's happening right in our own love lives. So thank you all. Many blessings to you, and we'll see you tomorrow night.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Gloria. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.